Welcome to the New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learnt and how they have handled their growth. We believe that we all have wisdom to be shared with each other and can learn from listening to each other's stories. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you feel like leaving us a review and sharing the love, that would be greatly appreciated. Hello and welcome back to the New Monks podcast. I am Jane Muller, your host. You can find me via the links below. And in episode 19, I will be talking to Antarma, who is an amazing musician. I met him around a fire at a festival. And really powerful, beautiful, joyful being. And in this episode, we talk a lot about the different traditions and paths that he stumbled into. He has travelled the roads from Sufism to Amazonian, shamanism, African traditions, and the Sanatan Dharma, which means the eternal way. And we just talk about his journey in life, really connecting with this infinite, unknown, indescribable form that takes hold as a child who is really in touch with that. And then growing up as a teenager, being able to find that again through mantra and music and even hip hop and rhyme. So yeah, enjoy this episode. It's really great. And we end with a really nice mantra as well. So if you do make it right to the end, because I know it's quite a long one, but there are some really nice pearls of wisdom that are shared in this episode. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
and the invitation.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, usually how we start is if you can just take a few deep breaths in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And then just tell us how you're feeling right now.
I'm alright. I'm calm. Yeah.
Yeah, you look really peaceful. Yeah.
Feelings are they're always changing as well, right?
So true.
And then the feeling of observing the feeling, the observer doesn't change.
Yeah.
But the feelings are continuously changing.
Yeah.
And then the feeling of sitting in the place of observing is different than just being fully in the feeling. Right.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you just started, just went right in there. So cool.
I don't know, each question, it's funny, you can always have infinite answers to infinite questions and yeah. But yeah, ask what else, how am I feeling right now? But how I choose to feel is how it could be in, right, isn't it? Whichever direction that I'll put my awareness into, then it will multiply and amplify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you're feeling. Well, I quite like to unpack this little pocket of what you just said.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's quite big information there. It's like the feeling, and then there's the observer, and being in the observer. And I just, where did you come into this knowledge?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm into it fully.
Yeah.
But I get daily reminders a lot. I'm on a WhatsApp group, so modern age technology, right? Of lots of quotes from Ramana Maharishi.
Yeah.
Advaita Vedanta non-dual practice.
I love him.
And I guess also from the practices of mantra meditation.
Yeah.
It's guiding us to connect to that witness beyond being enmeshed and attached to our experience, but also to be able to experience the experiences fully, so it's not like aversion or bypassing.
Yes.
But it can very much be maybe I'm also guilty of bypassing a lot, because sometimes just the heaviness of being, experiencing pain, experiencing dissatisfaction and of our limited human bodies and minds and emotions. It's like we all want to experience something more.
It can be quite a lot sometimes, right?
Yeah, to be in a human body. And here we are in West London, this beautiful flat. We don't have a problem for getting enough food to eat or warmth and shelter and things like this. But even so, everyone has their own suffering, depending, no matter what's their external circumstances. There's all different.
Yeah, that's so true.
Everyone has their own struggle, and I have mine, and you have yours, and right. So it's an interesting question about how are you feeling.
But I love that you said that you're in this WhatsApp group that you get daily.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that, because it's like, because we constantly forget, we constantly have our mind is always going into loops. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like limiting loops. Yeah. So to constantly remember the witness, remember the presence, and to be constantly reminded by beautiful examples of human beings who are actually in that complete state. It's really encouraging and supportive. And even with all these constant reminders, we still constantly forget. And so it's just it's been said by one of my dear teachers and guides. It's like all the practices or the mantras, all of that is just to remind you are divine, you are divine, you are divine, I am divine, the self is divine. But we constantly are attached onto our illusory limits, and there's a purpose for that as well. So we have this experience to experience.
I think that's definitely like such a process to realize like how amazing like one you can be. And I feel like even the conditioning of the world, it just doesn't really teach you that. So you really have to break through all of it. For sure. I guess it depends what part of the world, right? Yeah. Because it seems that spending time with people from cultures who live very close to the earth, like for example the Huni Queen tribe from the Amazon, and their ways of just like living and celebrating life and with the feet on the earth and honouring the spirit of nature and honouring everything and giving gratitude for everything and singing and dancing and playing and and praying and purifying. That's been done for thousands of years. I feel like that aspect of the world it's natural to just remind ourselves and each other of the divinity that's there. Another wonderful teacher always mentions this, from Shrima, Swami Satyananda Saraswati. He would always say, I want to remind myself, because I keep forgetting, so that's why I also want to remind of the divinity within, and that's why I'm chanting, and that's why I'm
singing these songs, and that's why I'm writing these books, and that's why I'm giving these translations. He'll say, because I want to remind myself of the divinity within myself, and remind others of the divinity within them, so that maybe, and then people will see that divinity within me, and then maybe I'll be able to convince myself. Because that's the hardest one. Yeah, he's so beautiful and humble, really. Wonderful example.
I feel like it becomes more of a celebration.
Yeah.
What do you think? There's like a time when you get to a place where it's like, oh yeah, I remember always.
I feel like there must be, and in fact, in a way, there is only that. Ooh. Isn't it? But it's kind of, not also.
Yeah.
The experience of being separate from that. Is what we experience most of the time. Yeah. But like, it's like there's another. I'm just like, I don't know if it's an interesting conversation if I'm just sitting and quoting, but these are the things that are in my in my awareness and consciousness.
Share.
Yeah. There was a beautiful. Yeah, so I'm inspired by a lot of different teachers and swamis and swaminis and yoginis and gurus and from the Sanatana Dharma tradition. So this was a quote that I remember hearing from Shubhamrita Swami, one of Amma's close disciples, and he was saying that the innocence of a child is our natural state. So as we're born as children, we don't have an ego, we don't have a clinging to the past or future or clinging to joy or pain. It's like when a baby cries, it's pure like when a baby laughs, it's like just pure ecstatic joy. It's just absolute presence. And that innocence is our natural state of being. Yet he was saying for a child, there's a certain ignorance in that innocence. There's not a wisdom in that innocence, because of course wisdom is innocence is wisdom in itself in its pure state, but there's an ignorance because it's not yet been forgotten.
Oh wow.
And so the ego is there, but it's not sprouted yet. It's lying dormant. So by the time the child reaches 7, 8, 9 years old, then the ego starts to sprout its ugly head, and the mind and the identity and the questioning of the society and life and experiences and desires will start rising. There's this dissatisfaction, and that's what then causes all of the conflicts and problems, because we forget that innocence and that pure joyfulness of just being alive and exist and playing and celebrating and
I feel like also it can spark the search.
Of course, so the suffering, of course, whatever experience of suffering, is part of our journey. And he was saying the innocence of someone who's a jnani. Jnana would be knowledge of the non-dual jnana yoga, or someone that is a Mahatma, a great soul, or someone that is who's got to that point of absolute remembrance. Their kind of innocence doesn't have ignorance, so it's it's not a temporary innocence. The childhood innocence is a temporary innocence, but the innocence of someone like Amma, or someone like Guruji, or someone like Swamiji, or some of these real pure souls that are present on the planet and that have been for so many thousands of years, there's not an ignorance to that innocence, because it's an eternal innocence. Because there's the awareness of the forgetfulness, and there's an awareness of the separation, yet there's an awareness of that it's just a hologram and just an illusion, and it's resting in that pure awareness.
I love that.
Like that.
Yeah, because as a child, it's like it's such a blank slate still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then but you just incorporate it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the kind of, not everyone believes in that, but in the Sanatana Dharma tradition, then, and in many cultures all over the world, I feel like nature shows us that also when we're rising up from that blank state, there's also our our destiny or our karma and whatever we've brought from us from previous times comes, and then so whatever experiences that we attract, it's due to what we've been up to before, and it comes back round again. And
do you want to talk a bit about your practice and the journey, like how you came into discovering it?
It's funny, I kind of don't like talking too much about it because, you know, all words can just be so misinterpreted and misunderstood.
I know.
I feel like I've already said quite a lot about what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, and what is practice, and just because also I don't really feel qualified to fully really talk about these beautiful things, because it's just like a parrot, right? A parrot who reads stuff and then copies it out or listens and says again. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like I can hear beautiful things and I can feel beautiful when I listen to them and feel that beautiful resonance, and then I can parrot it out to people and people are like, wow, that he's got it. And I'm like, actually no, I'm just copying stuff that I've heard, and it's coming through my own personal filter, but I'm kind of not really answering your question, am I? So do I want to talk about you? But you know, I did anyway. I said not really. That was my answer. But I guess it is, you know.
But I know what you mean. It's a very interesting one. But I feel like there's also so much because also I think some people aren't necessarily gonna find their way into practicing something. So I feel like it's also really helpful to share, you know, how you got there and your journey with it. Yeah, sure, for sure it is, and also it's personal to you, you know, it's just your experience.
And I think my personal experience also, I guess everyone can relate in their own way. So if we can listen to other people's experience and see a part of ourselves in them as well, right? So so go on then. Fine, you convinced me to share something.
I guess just with your mantra is quite a big practice of yours, right?
For sure. Yeah. But even before mantra specifically, then I guess it relates back to what I was saying about childhood. I think as a kid, I remember feeling that moment of beauty and magic, you know, when my dad was playing guitar, for example, you know, and just being like, wow, you know, and that joyfulness in that moment, or seeing the beauty in a dark night sky with stars. I felt like I could see the roundness. Let's not get into the flat earth or global question, but I felt like I could see the roundness of the globe when I was looking up at the stars as a kid, or the beauty of a tree or an animal, or just moments of presence and the magic in that, you know. And in music very much so. And I also remember really feeling the pain of separation from that from a young age, feeling just in North London, bus stops and Safeway supermarket. I'm giving away my age because that hasn't existed for a little while. So in the 90s, being a kid, you know, and newspapers and just lack of presence. It used to really hurt me as a kid a lot, and I think it just had it like I was saying about whatever sort of intense searching that was from previous times, and so whatever the circumstances that I was in as a kid, I wasn't going through anything, you know, so difficult. I wasn't born in poverty or anything. I was able to have food to eat and a safe place to live, you know. So I'm grateful for those simple basic necessities and stuff, but I didn't find that presence that I was searching for everywhere. And I felt like I had a hard time at school as well. I had a hard time accepting authority as well as a little little rebel, but I was kind of this sort of intense searching, and And also I was quite ill a lot as a kid, so I had asthma and eczema, and I was in the hospital quite a few times, and I almost died a few times as well. Like I felt this kind of like I might, you know, like lack of breathing and not being able to breathe. And I remember having an experience when I was maybe 7 or 8, I'm not sure exact age, and I had a infection called impetigo. So it's like a crust that builds up on your mouth, and you can't eat or drink. It's like, and if it goes up your nose, and it can kill you. It's like a really like thick sort of, and it's really painful, so you can't really open your mouth.
Like around your lips?
Yeah, and kind of in your inside as well. So like I couldn't eat for about 2 weeks, and they were just trying to like get a little bit of like water and probably something into my mouth. But I remember lying down in my mum's bedroom as a kid there, and it was dark, and just having an experience of something beyond, and I couldn't explain it, and I didn't really have a reference point from it. I wasn't really.
How old were you?
As I said, around between like 6 to 8, I reckon.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly, but it was something that I remember now, and I can relate my later experiences back to that experience, and it's just like I feel like it gave me. It wasn't good or bad. It was just something that was just in that dark room. Something there was a light, and there was just an experience of something rising, and it's just an experience. But it was a change. It was an experience of something different than my general reality.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, when I got into mantra and practice and yoga and connecting to the Divine Mother, then I had experiences that then made me make sense of my earlier experience as a kid. But I was searching, so then I kind of got into music around that time as well, and that was before mantra. Then rap lyrics and poetry was one of the things that also helped me make sense of my own emotional turmoil as a 12-year-old. I got kicked out of school. I was like, I was just trying to be a little bad man and doing my own little stuff here and there, and just
music.
Yeah, so music was a therapy and a healing, and sound. And so later on, getting into mantras from about age 13 and being introduced to these practices, they just made so much sense to me. It felt like something that really sat deep within me to hear about these ways of honoring the infinite, and it kind of made sense to me that hip hop and rhymes and lyrics in a way are mantras and prayers and incantations as well, because they're using these universal keys of word, sound, power, repetition, rhyme as well, because it goes in it like gets a message deeper in there. So if you listen to some of the songs that I've written, they're first and foremost like back to this point of they're reminders for myself to remember, like, life is amazing. So you are amazing. Your pure fire blazing. All the challenges you're facing, they've been there for your training, because I want to remember that. I want to remember that, and I want to hopefully also inspire others to remember that too. But first and foremost, I need to remember that, because I keep forgetting it. So both, be it Sanskrit mantras or be it English like rap, poetry, lyrics, it's these like creating that pattern, that neural pathway in the brain of a feeling. So that goes back to your first question as well. So like what, so it's like this that Dr. Yusui, is it? I always get mixed up between the names of there's Dr. Yusui who took the photographs of water crystals, and then there's another similar name, I think, who's one of the founders of Reiki. Okay. They're both so forgive me guys if you know better than me about it, but there's a Japanese scientist who took photographs of water molecules at the moment of freezing. You've heard about this one?
No, I haven't.
And I think it's called Miracles in Water or something like that. I forget the name, but it's beautiful. So he took photographs of water molecules at the moment of freezing and said different words to it. And so, for example, I love you, thank you, it draws like a beautiful snowflake, like 6-pointed geometric pattern, or I hate you, like in like a kind of very ungeometric blob, like uglyish looking blobby stuff. And so it's showing the scientific manifestation of what the words that we say and the feelings that they create, and the vibrancy and the harmony and the frequency of feelings. And you know, when a feeling is aligned to in a pattern, in an orderly beautiful pattern, or if it's kind of in a like a cancerous, like out chaotic and unorderly, like undesirable manifestation. And there was quite a few different experiments like that, so different mantras or different prayers from different cultures, and then have like some of those crystals would actually almost reflect the style of that culture that prayer was in. But they're always beautiful. Or like classical music from like Mozart or something that's like all beautiful stuff, or if it was like some like really negative heavy metal, death metal stuff, and it was like nasty molecules and stuff. So it's some scientific people would, you know, say that it wasn't a good experiment and it's not proved, but it's nice to see that, because it shows that whatever feeling that we focus on and how we want to tune into feelings.
Because I feel like it's so interesting, because I feel like sometimes you can be aware of it but you can't really see it, and sometimes you not even really aware of it, but in the experiment it's like no, it's like the transference of energy, you know.
And I guess the more and more that you sort of introspect into your own feeling, then the more you become more aware of your feelings in your environment. So if you're in a space that's full of a lot of, you know, beautiful energy, and for example, maybe if it's a space that's been for thousands of years, there's been so much beautiful energy and beautiful prayers and beautiful sounds and offerings, and like an ancient temple somewhere, then you'll be able to feel all those thousands of years of those beautiful, that place is filled with the vibrancy of that frequency. And the same for somewhere that's you know, with a like, there's quite a few like scientific experiments and beautiful kind of evidences that I think there was like in these places where the concentration camps were in the World War, that like there were so many like cases of mental problems and suicides and murders and stuff for people that grew up in those areas, because that resonance of all the suffering and all the injustice and all the like heavy stuff hadn't been shifted. There's a guy who I know in Germany called Raf, and he did like a mission to cycle to all of these, I don't know if it was on a motorbike or I think it was maybe a push bike, that he cycled to all of the concentration camps from Italy to Germany to Poland to France, whatever, to plant these orgone generators that like that he believes, and certain people believe that it's got it's definitely with a lot of good energy and good intention and some copper coils and stuff, and so they said that they can transform the vibrancy, frequency and the vibrancy in those places. So he had this mission of like cycling around all those places and planting these like transformational tools there. There's so many people are doing so many different beautiful things at the moment.
So true.
And it's they're not always necessarily in total like agreement with each other and in the methods, but the intention is hopefully
so true. There's so much coming here. I was going to mention about this. I feel like it requires a sensitivity to be able to. I feel like that's a whole different journey to like open yourself up to feelings that, you know, like not just the environment but also in yourself.
to your true calling and your true alignment with what's right for you, because each person's different, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
For each human is a universe unto themselves.
It's true. It sounds like you had that from a very young age. Like you said, you kept looking for that innocence.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for all of the experiences that I've been having and that I'm still having. You know. But yeah, I think it's also, like we were talking about before, is that you mentioned that point that it's the suffering that has the seed of transformation generally. There's an analogy of, and yet again I'm maybe not telling it very well because I can't remember always all of the details of the thing, but they say that there are some horses that as soon as they even see water they go straight and they drink. And then there are some horses that you need to take them a bit closer and then like guide them to go and drink water there, and some that they even you take them and they don't even drink unless you really force them to, and then some horses they don't they just like don't, it's not they're not thirsty, so they don't drink. You know, even however much you try and force them to, unless until it gets really to a point, and then and so that's a metaphor about the Dharma, so this is from Buddhist path that I'm not so familiar with, but there's a lot of similarities between the Buddhist or the what they call Hindu. It's all from different branches of Sanatana Dharma, the eternal way. So
eternal way.
Or the eternal ideal of perfection, the Dharma. So so the horse that sees the water, it's like this. He doesn't even need to go through so much suffering himself. He can just see the suffering in the world anyway, and the nature of suffering. So as soon as he is showing the way to break free from the cycle of suffering and from the causes of suffering, then he'll go straight to the water to drink. And and most of us are not like that. Like I haven't been like that. I've had to go through my own suffering and be broken down a bit. It's like, okay, let me try and just enjoy life and not be attached to the enjoyment or to the suffering either. And just recognize it's all just a play. And do the best that I can and help as much as I can and be of service and try and let go of my own selfishness and let go of my own limiting, destructive patterns that I'm holding, and just celebrate being alive as much as possible.
I feel like you definitely do that with your music.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I've got many faults, and I could be much better in many ways and more efficient with, but somehow there's a flow of energy that shares this good, and I'm grateful for that, and I want to become a more and more clearer channel for beauty and joy and strength and celebration and peace to flow through.
Love that.
Like that. That's
I was gonna ask you, is there a specific moment where you discovered this mantra tradition?
When I was 13. So and so that's why the thing about, because I've been involved in quite a lot of different aspects of it, and so I'm not sure if I want to pinpoint every. I'm so grateful to all of the different, paths and lineages, and I'm not sure if it's useful to pinpoint all of them, because it's like in the last few years, then the lineages and traditions that I've been connected with, and one specific lineage of connecting to the Divine Mother, being devoted to Shakti, to the Goddess, to the Divine Feminine, and also the Divine Masculine. That's an aspect of that. So the Shiva Shakti tradition, and I see that all paths are valid, and all paths are divine, and people come to the path at the perfect time that they're meant to, in whichever aspect and whichever style that's what's right with them. And a lot of a lot of organizations and groups, and that's also natural as well, that it happens, that there's this thing of my way is the best way. Yeah.
I was just gonna bring this up.
Okay, is it?
Yeah, because you mentioned, like, you know, actually we're all trying to do the same thing, but in different ways.
Yeah.
And then I've been thinking about this a lot, and there really is, like, sometimes it's like, no, this one, no, this one, no, this one.
And see, it was explained to me nicely. There was a brother who was from the... Yeah, see, that's the thing. Sometimes I don't even want to start mentioning names of different organisations and stuff, because all of them are just very beautiful ways of connecting. But someone was saying it about one specific thing. It's like, when you have this kind of like feeling, my way is the best way, and the way that my teacher tells is the best way, and all other ways are not right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you go in hell if you're not doing this way, you know. Then it's like, it makes it's like when you've just first discovered something. So this is how it was explained to me. When you first discover something, you suddenly feel like, oh wow, I've got the key. It's like our beautiful bro had a key around his neck, you know. So like, you've got the key, and now, and you're feeling completely transformed. Like your limited experience of not feeling disempowered is now different, because you're feeling empowered. You're feeling plugged into the universal consciousness, and you haven't let it sit deeply in you enough yet to feel totally fine in all situations. Now, to feel totally fine in all situations, that sounds like a real tall order, actually. In fact, it really is. It's very easy to say. And it's one of those things that I often, you know, get that test for myself. It's like, I'll say, like sharing a relaxation practice, or you know, in a session, it's like, maybe tune into that essence that whatever happens outside, we can always retreat. And so, okay, you're sharing that with people. Okay, try this situation and that situation. Try it in that one. But so, but at least, to be for us to kind of ground ourselves in that feeling, in that steadiness, where we can be in different environments, be around different people, and not need to try and change them, and just accept them for how they are, and see the beauty in them, and see the divinity in everyone and everything, even if it's not in the same sort of flow that we like to live our lives. But when that takes time, I guess, and takes maturity, I suppose, to be able to accept everything as it is. And it's not easy, and I'm not saying that I do either, because you know, I have so many of my own struggles and whatever. But so the point is, like, when people are trying to force something on like, I remember when I was a kid, actually, so when I was 13, it's always better to talk about your own experience than someone else's, isn't it? I'd had this experience of this meditation practice that awakens the Kundalini, the Divine Mother Shakti. You invite Divine Mother to open up through your chakras, and you can feel it physically, not just a mental concept. You can feel it on your hands and above your head, and you feel this joy and this beauty. And in those moments before that, I felt like I didn't need to try and explain the thing, just to be able to go more deeply into it and feel that thing, and the resonance and the feeling is shared without it needing to be explained, which also takes me back to the thing of, I don't really want to explain, because as soon as we explain, we lose the essence of the thing. But hopefully these my blah 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 rooms are useful somehow. You know,
it is funny, so that's also the Tao, isn't it? The whole concept.
Yeah, in the Tao Te Ching. That was a book, actually, before I even started any practice. It was a book that was around at home, and I used to read bits of it, and it was very inspiring. But it's hard to grasp unless you go deeper into the experience. And even then, you can't grasp it. If you say that you grasp it, it's not the true Tao. As they say, the Tao that is spoken is not the true Tao. The essence is indescribable.
It's funny, isn't it? And it's like the words, even reading it, it's completely different to experiencing it.
Yeah.
And like you said with the Kundalini as well, like you actually felt it. It's like, I feel like, yeah, for me there was a point where I didn't, I heard a lot of people talking about it, and I think some people even talk about it and they haven't necessarily experienced it, and then it's like, it's just a completely different thing when you feel it.
Yeah, and then it's interesting because you have reference points of what you've read or conversations you've had, and it's like, that's what they mean.
Yeah.
There was an album called "The First Shall Be Last, the Last Shall Be First" by Sons of Man, who are one of the like offshoots of Wu-Tang.
Oh, wow.
So I remember, and it's got like a lot of like kind of gangster hip hop stuff and a lot of real deep spiritual cosmic stuff in there as well. And I was listening to it from my cousin introduced me to hip hop when I was already into hip hop in a way, but he got me into like Wu-Tang and basketball and graffiti when I was like 6, 7. And I remember listening to that album over and over and over again when I was like 7. And when I was 14, 7 years later, a lot of the concepts and the sort of descriptions of experiences were much more alive to me because of my own path that I had started the year before as at age 13. So I remember finding the CD, listening again that I'd listened to 7 years back, and it had 4 sevens on the CD as well, like some kind of Hebrew like scriptures on it and stuff, and the sun in the middle. And so it's like that type of thing, where you have input but the things don't make sense to you, and then later on you have an experience and then you go back and you say, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But it's like until the veil's lifted, it's not available to you.
Yeah.
I started saying a little bit of something, and then we went on a different flight path. I wanted to finish up about that thing about when you wanting to convert or wanting to. So it was described the way this brother described it. I often remember that because it made a lot of sense when you're not yet grounded deeply in your experience of the feeling of your practice, or you found a practice or a way or a religion or I don't know, a method to connect to a feeling of great joy or beauty and peace, then you then become more sensitive to the environments where you don't feel that, and you see it, you don't feel that and if you don't feel that other people are aligned with that same alignment, then you want to convert those other people. You need to come to this way, or you need to come to Jesus, you need to come to Allah, you need to come to Krishna, or whatever it is. You need to come to science, whatever it is. But this is the only way, and if you don't have this way, then you're going wrong. So it comes from a certain amount of not being able to feel comfortable with the different environments. And I feel like when you're really more deeply connected to that divine source, whether you call it Allah, whether you call it Jesus, or whether you call it Krishna, whether you call it Devi, whether you call it Pachamama, or whatever it is, there's a differences according to location on the planet, according to culture and different styles, but it's that one infinite essence that takes all these infinite forms. And if we can feel that absolutely pure loving energy by whichever name, through whichever culture, then we won't need to want to change others or judge others or say that they're wrong. And hopefully we'll be able to just feel settled and not have this thing of like, so it's got to a certain level, it's like showing a bit of a sign of lack of maturity when we're wanting to convert people, rather than naturally just hopefully sitting and resting in that essence, and then people come to you and say, what is it that you're doing, why are you feeling so like what, or why? So
I feel like that's so big. It's that, and it's so small. It's like, rather than putting yourself out there like you said, then it's just your presence, and people start to notice like you're just having a good time, yeah. And I heard something recently. It was like, don't offer your opinion unless people ask for it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I want to learn to practice that.
Yeah.
Can you teach me how to practice that?
I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like when they ask for it, then it's the channel's open. They're here to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's toughest with the people that you love the most as well, right? Because you want to, and also because those people, you're around them more, right? So if they're not aligned with your alignment, then it can be tough. So you wanna get everyone in tune in a good way, but not also not be pushy. I've definitely had troubles with it, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
And I feel like you said it comes back to just accepting everyone where they are, you know? Yeah. And it's so funny because it's like we go on these journeys and these paths, and I feel like we can get so distracted by all these different things, and then some things of like being able to communicate with each other can get a bit lost, you know?
Yeah.
And like to be able to just accept, you know? And it's like, we can get so lost in like, oh my God, I've done this and I've done that, you know? This is something that I've been like, thinking about quite a lot recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, yeah, because then it's like, share. So that's why you've asked me to share experiences or like, or where my path started and stuff like that. And it can be nice as a reference point, and hopefully it can also be inspiring. But I've also been told by people that I have been guided by and mentored by that it's not worth talking about experiences because you can have a very deeply inspiring experience, but it's just a moment, right? And there's so many infinitely more moments to create and to experience, and if we hold on to the experience or get attached to the experience, then we can lose the juice, the beauty from that experience can be drained because it's in this one beautiful thing. I've been around the Amazonian and Shamanic traditions and African Brazilian traditions, and that's been a real big influence in my life and my music as well. A little bit later on, I got connected to these paths and ways when I was about 18 and started deeply into that side of practice and music and prayer, and one of the things one elder in one of the groups said to me, he was like, you, with all that energy that you're experiencing now, do something with it. Don't just like talk about it or think about it. Do stuff with your hands, or like draw, write, sing, put your hands on the earth. So this I feel that at the moment a lot of the things that I've been planting the seed of intention with are now manifesting in real life. So there's a project that I'm going to be involved with, which is planting trees. So we're calling it chanting and planting. So we're going to plant trees, and real physical trees, and plant the seed and plant trees of love through chanting mantras and singing together, and so I feel really grateful to be able to have people, because it's something that I've been wanting to do so much over the years, and just living in the city and not knowing how, where, why, knowing why but not knowing how or where or with who to plant trees and plant food and connect to these ways of that all of the ancestors of this planet have all been naturally in tune with in a natural way, giving gratitude for life, for nature, or the indigenous ways of all over the world. That's our original way, is being in tune with the cycles of nature. So true. I feel really grateful to be linking up with these brothers from Crops Not Shops, who are doing this project of starting planting food and planting trees and getting that happening as much as possible, and free food for communities. And
that's so cool.
So a lot of like what I've been rapping about or singing about or thinking about is the people come together. You hold that vision and hold that prayer for the highest good of all beings, and naturally things start coming together like that.
Yeah. Is there like, I want to ask you something about, just the whole thing about like, we're all doing the same thing but with different paths.
Right.
Is there something that you personally like find a way to, in acceptance of that, In
acceptance of everybody just having their own path.
Yeah, and also maybe just navigating when other people are like trying to sway you in specific directions. Yeah, like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So how to hold your own space and tune into your inner voice.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and it's a continuous learning process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Everybody is their own universe. I'll hear the voice of one of my friends who's been very helpful to me over the years, and who introduced me to my teacher, and he would say, really it just depends what your priority is.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Love that.
Really simplifies. It's like, what's your priority? Prioritize that.
Yeah.
And then if you're prioritizing that in your life, then whatever distractions or different possible directions that come in, so you'll know where to withdraw your attention or draw your boundary. If it's not for what's if it's not in alignment with your priority of your dharma, of your ideal of perfection.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But definitely the more that we put our focus and our energy and our love and our gratitude to our priority, and hopefully what our priority will be for the highest good of all beings, as everyone is a reflection of ourselves. And if we're walking on selfish paths of disconnected or paths that are harming ourselves or harming others, then it's it's never for the highest good of all beings. So it needs to be for the highest good of ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for all of nature and for all of life. So prioritizing that.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's really good. Highest timeline.
What's that?
Highest timeline.
Yeah. A lot of these teachers around, they remind us as well that time is really limited. We're not in this body for a very long time. We don't know when it's our time to leave this body. Especially, I guess, this year, 2020, so many people, not necessarily from the famous illness that's going around, but sorry, is that funny? But I mean, for so many other reasons, old age, and so many people are leaving their bodies. But more than ever this year, have I known so many people who've got family members and parents and colleagues and whatever, and friends who've been leaving their body, and yet we still act like we have forever. I think Satguru Isha Yoga Jogi Vasudev does loads of good videos and talks really well. Not unlike me, who just blah 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 and on, repeating a bit of your stuff from here and there. But, I'll always just say, if we know that there's no guarantee that we wake up tomorrow, we won't waste any time. I don't know, but I want to get myself much more focused and pinpoint, because sometimes it feels like I'm, just struggling just to get through my own mental, emotional patterns that I'm in, and so that's why I also use music and mantra and the uplifting feeling of also sharing that to help, to help to clarify the path. And sometimes it's a beautiful thing to have our own internal practice, and then also to have like people to reflect that, and to remind each other of the divinity within, like that.
Love that. I feel like it just squashes everything, it's like that whole, we are all equal.
Yeah.
Love it. Also, when you say the Divine Mother, What does that mean for you?
It was introduced to me through this first aspect of the path that I got into when I was 13. That it's like in the Bible they've got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got a Father and a Son, what's missing? What's missing? Father, Son,
Mother.
Isn't it? Yeah. The mother and yeah, the daughter also. But,
yeah.
Son can maybe be male or female, right? But if there's a child, then there needs to be so there's okay. So actually, the mother is the Holy Spirit that is missing from that Trinity.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that's
the Son
and the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So.
Wow! I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, it's a sweet way that they describe that. Yeah, Sri Mataji describes. And so from one of the books that I'm really into and that really helps practice a lot, it's called the Chandi Path, and it describes the Divine Mother as the intrinsic energy of all nature, of all life. So Swamiji calls it like that. That Divine Mother is the essence of all beings, of all imaginable and all unimaginable realities, the energy of movement, the energy of stillness, and the energy of harmony, past, future, present. The list is endless. That Divine Mother is the birther of the cosmos, the birther of the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer of the cosmos, known as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the Parashakti. And she is even beyond gender, so it's even beyond, so there's infinite Shiva and Shakti, infinite awareness and energy. So we'll talk about energy, right? So in fact, Divine Mother is that Shakti, is the energy.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
I was going to say, how does that relate to like masculine and feminine?
They say it's like the sun and its rays. They're not separate, but they are. But they're not. So the masculine Shiva is like the sun, and then the rays of the sun is the Shakti, is the goddess. And the stillness, the consciousness, the observer, the witness is the Shiva, which can be in our limited minds thought of as masculine.
Yeah.
And then the movement that comes from that stillness is the Shakti, is the energy. So Guruji Amritanandanatha Devi Puram Sampradaya, he says the union of space and time is the union of Shiva and Shakti, and so from that union of space and time the Big Bang is created. So he's a scientist and a spiritual guru, and he's one of my great influences as well.
What's the name?
Amritanandanatha of Devi Puram.
Okay.
And so it's really beautiful how he says, so from the union of space being the Shakti and time flowing into space, their union creates the whole, all the creation and all the separation. All this, separate beings are born out of the Shakti, the desire of the universe to experience herself as many, and the many all have the desire to experience themselves as one, because only when we're experiencing absolute one can we feel totally blissful and happy, feeling totally at home, feeling totally aligned to that one. And it's in our feeling of disconnection from that one that we experience the suffering of being bound to a limited body, mind, emotions in this world of supposed separation. And so we have that desire to experience unity in one way, or satisfaction and fulfillment.
Like content.
Yeah. Because our desires never make us content, we're always desiring another thing. You have a temporary satisfaction, you eat food, you enjoy it, right? And then and then you later on you're going to want more, and then sometimes there's this like the battle of too much and too little.
Yeah. What's your perspective on like gurus and having gurus and like following teachings? Do you feel like there's ever a point where you like drop it all, or is that just not really important?
It depends, you know. There was a beautiful quote that I read from Guruji just recently, and he was saying, you know, guru is a dirty word these days.
Yes.
It's been so disrespected. The traditional meaning of what guru is, to how it's used these days is kind of so far apart. In Sanskrit, gu means darkness.
Ooh.
The darkness of ignorance, of illusion, of separation, and ru is the remover of that darkness. So the one who reveals the light of awareness, so who reveals the light of yoga. The guru is that. So bowing to that embodiment of pure awareness, of pure bliss, of Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, bliss. That is the real guru. And in our Western ideas of, you know, what's acceptable and what's, you know, right, and sense of self, and it's very hard to be able to want to see all of that truth in another human, you know,
and surrender to
yeah and because and it's not only just in the recent days that you know, that there's been both the purity and the distortion. From even in the ancient scriptures, you have people that they would describe as demons, actually, who use these powers and these techniques and tools for selfish means.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of the mythologies are both the gods and the demons are just people who have different focuses, you know, who are using the same tools of empowerment, but when the divine beings or the gods and goddesses are aligned to the truth of the highest good for all, and then the demonic energy or the asuras, as it's called in Sanskrit, are people that are wanting to possess, holding on to the limit, seeing the separation, seeing the difference, and holding on to that and wanting to dominate. But ultimately that will always self-destruct, because whatever is imbalanced in that way, it will end up being dissolved, because the highest harmony is always everything is always coming back to that. There's a mantra that says, for Shiva, it says, in countless compassionate and beautiful forms and peaceful forms, and in countless terrifying and terrible forms, and beyond all of these, I bow to Shiva. I bow to that pure consciousness. So both the so-called good and the so-called bad, they all come from that one infinite source, and it's all the play of energy, or the play of Shakti. So you asked that question about how does it relate to masculine and feminine? So I don't know if I've helped elucidate that at all, or clarify that. So the Shiva is thought of as consciousness, the observer, the witness. And then the Shakti is the one that animates that seed of awareness and nurtures it and gives birth to individuals and the world of nature, which is infinite layers of beings, of individuality. And it's sometimes, there's different teachers who beautifully describe it. It's like, why does the universe, why does the want to create these infinite different realities all as a play? So the Lalita Sahasranama is a really beautiful prayer and chant, and it's been one that I've been practicing for some years, and it's been so powerful and purifying, and we connect. We sat around the fire with that. And Lalita means she's playful.
Wow.
So the whole universe is her play.
Yeah.
So I'm saying everything is just a play, and and she's also the form of both the Shakti and Shiva as one. So before they separate and divide into infinite, they're actually just one. And that's described in the yantra and the geometry as well. So the mantra is the sound, and then the yantra is the geometric representation and blueprint of the universe. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, how you said it's like androgynous, like not male or female, but then it's called mother. It's like, you know. I guess it's just our language.
I've been reading that it's been explained that para means absolutely beyond. So if it's para Shiva or if it's para Shakti, then it's beyond, before and after and beyond the manifestation as two, as something separate and different, that that merge and then multiply. So
what do you feel about the state of the world at the moment, and like where we are in our evolution? Like, I find it so crazy that there's only like masters who've got this ancient knowledge. There's just few and far, and it's just like, do we get to a place where we're all going to be like that?
The Sanatana Dharma says that we all are destined for that.
Yeah.
Throughout our millions of births, as insects and stones and mountains and rivers and trees and animals of all different types and humans of all different types, to get to the birth that then we get to encounter a true guru. So that comes back to your other question as well, which we didn't fully finish. It is about a true guru is not having any selfishness, is not having any kind of desire for power or fame or money or anything like that. It's just completely of service. It's not actually a human. It's just having a very thin veil of humanity, but it's just a river of love. So just a river of compassion and mercy and is just there to serve, just being of service. And sometimes when we're around people like that, we can feel that. And yet again, there are many, and my gurus, they say, there are a lot of so-called gurus and so-called swamis and so-called teachers and shamans who are actually, they'll get a bit of energy and a bit of practice and then get distracted and start to, oh wow, I can influence people, I can make money out of this, I can take advantage of people out of this. So sadly, that happens, and it has happened in the ancient times, not only these days but maybe it happens more these days. Who knows? But so according to Sanatana Dharma, then, so you might be into practice for many lifetimes, but then to be able to find a real guru, and then to be able to surrender to that guru, and for the grace of the divine to pass through from the original Shiva and Shakti through that lineage, through that guru who's a complete embodiment of that, who's dissolved all of their egotism and selfishness, and to transmit that and help dissolve that in you, and then that's your your moksha, your freedom. And then ultimately, so then there's this non-dual, that actually all of that is just a dream. There is no there is no me, there is no you, there is no infinite lifetimes, there is no birth, there is no death, there is only the pure consciousness. There is only one infinite experience. But we also experience the separation as well, and that's part of the rasa, the flavour, the experience, the feeling, which goes back to our very first question. How are you feeling? We're feeling the experience of being an individual.
That's actually what you say, that there is none, because I feel like it's like we've experienced everything, really, like this whole oneness, it is everything. So it's like countless lifetimes, all of it. But then that kind of also equals, it's led me to a place where I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter then, it's also none.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
So So that's everyone's ultimate destiny, and everyone will come to it in the right time. You know, it's like sometimes you share a moment with around a circle, around a fire, and there's 12 people sitting there, but one person's like, "What was that you were chanting?" And then they start chanting it, and then they get into it. It's not because you're great. It's because they're also ready to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've just sat here and just told you a whole bunch of cliches for the last year, but hopefully they're useful cliches, or you know, a bunch of gimmicks, you know. But here's another one. Here's another gimmick for you. So it said. When these questions come, then whatever comes up in my awareness, my consciousness is often things that I've heard and that have been inspired for me. So I'm just here parroting on about again.
I feel like they're a cliche for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it's nice to talk to not try and take ourselves too seriously, isn't it? Because otherwise,
yeah, true.
You know.
Very true.
And so I was reminded of this thing that I've heard many times before. It's like we are spiritual beings or eternal beings having a human experience. Yeah. So we're here to experience the experience of being an individual, of the experience of pain, of pleasure, of happy, of sad, of all of the the range that this world has for us, you know.
Yeah, there's a range.
But to ideally not cling to things as they're all passing through, because everything is temporary in the temporary moving world, and be able to rest in the stillness while fully playing our role of whatever role we have to play in the world, be it, you know, friend or son or daughter or mother or father or sister or brother or teacher or student, or you know, whatever role that we have to play. Just fully be able to play that role, but not be attached to the role that we have to play in different certain moments. So in the Bhagavad Gita, they talk about this. You know, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna to do battle. You know. Yeah. And he's like, no, how can I kill all my family members? He's like, who really knows the self does not kill and cannot be killed, even if he's killing or being killed. So that's a really tricky one as well, because it can be, I'm going to go and murder people because actually I'm just the pure self. This is just the body, and this is just the destiny. You know, there can be so much room for misinterpretation. But true. The essence is that to be able to live our life and do whatever that we're meant to do without being attached to the fruits of it, without wanting to possess, and just give everything up to the divine bhakti, devotion. You know, being able to and that's why it's a scientific process of sound. So we touched on that earlier as well. So through the sound of the divine, through mantra, it aligns through repetition upon repetition upon repetition. It aligns us to these cosmic truths, these eternal truths that we can read and intellectually agree with, but to have it as a lasting, grounded experience, it takes constant dedication and devotion and practice and repetition. And so that's the point of the bhakti yoga, is that devotion, and having a feeling, an emotion of a relationship with that divine, because that divine is infinite and is beyond all forms. But that's hard for us to think about, and that is this jnana yoga, is this non-duality, is that there is only the infinite self. There is no body, there is no mind, there is no relationship, there is no time, there is only Shiva, there is only that pure infinite awareness. This is a very high viewpoint and experience, observer point, and it's pretty hard for most of us, and for me as well, and for so many to be able to just really truly practice that. You might intellectually be able to continuously say that, but while we're still having our experience of, if someone slaps me around the face, it's going to hurt, but to be able to rest in that awareness. So that's where being able to see the bhakti yoga is this form of devotion. Yoga meaning union of the infinite with the finite, of the temporary with the eternal, of the body with the presence, and bhakti meaning devotion. So if I want to free, it's like Buddhist or non-dual teachings, they'll just say have no attachment. Okay, we can agree that will be a great way to be, but we're always attached. We're animals of habit, and we're and so then the science of bhakti is to be able to use the sound and the image and the idea of a relationship with the divine. So if I think of the divine as the mother or the goddess, then I want to have a loving relationship and feel like I'm a child and feel like I'm being looked after and protected. And then the divine likes that feeling and that mood and helps to increase that mood. So hopefully I'll say these mantras every day, and I'll keep saying them and reading their meanings, and at some point hopefully I'll start to feel the experience of them. Like some of the name of Divine Mother is she who has no anxiety in anything at all. And it's like, imagine not having any anxiety in any situation at all. Hopefully by repeating it again and again and again and again, then that feeling gets injected into our nervous system, and we start to experience that beautiful and calming and centered feeling of what that feels like.
I was just going to ask you, like, how the practice, it must bring a difference into your life and in your interaction in your relationships. So, and I feel like you kind of went into it there anyway.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and even when these sort of things happen, so someone says what you're thinking, then you realize actually you can start to see that these words are not mine, they're not yours, they're just flowing through. And it's just what that specific stream of information is what wants to be expressed. And we probably get it a lot, and in fact, you think about someone and then they send a message, it's like, okay, that's just it's the flow. The universe has his ways or her ways to express through different things, and without a doubt in interactions, right? So helps a lot to not take things personally, because when someone projects their good stuff or their bad stuff, usually and so that's another point, and this is one of these key things in the Dharmic traditions, is that we have to go beyond our likes and dislikes. And we're bound by what we like and what we don't like. We're chasing. The wonderful saint from Kerala who hugs people, she often says, we are chasing our pleasure and running away from our pain. Constantly, and so then we're never free, because we're constantly chasing what we like and we're constantly running away from what we don't like. And if we can sit and accept everything that comes and goes, and not chase, and I'm maybe not quite exactly now. Sometimes I get confused, because ultimately it's one source of information that comes through all these different beautiful teachings and masters and people in different ways. And sometimes, or whether my filing system there, I'm not sure who's, it all becomes one. But if we can, not chase pleasure and not run away from pain, and also not even run away from pleasure and not chase pain, but accept everything that comes and goes, and then everything just comes and goes. It's like one of the reminders that I want to remind myself, and hopefully others as well, in the songs that I'm sharing as well. So by the way, guys, my album's coming out next year. Here comes the advert, isn't it? Oh, that's just a cheesy little advert, right? Mixed in. Good. So yeah, sharing these songs that I've been sharing quite a lot, live and in circles and in gatherings, and finally have some beautiful recordings of them, and so keep in tune for that.
Nice.
And one of the messages is all that is happening as it is, and there's no need to stress because it's a blessing just to live. So all of these reminders is like, okay, everything is happening as it is. I don't need to it's like being able to continuously come back to the center. There's do you know there's these like when you see there's these kind of toys that are like blow up balloon type things, like I can think of like a Skittle or something like that, and like you hit it and it bounces back up. So years ago I remember reading that that's like someone that had got to the point of pure awareness. It's like where you hit them, they're always going to just come back. So it's like if that was a balloon Buddha, you hit it down, it's always just come back in lotus position. Yeah. And the more deeper that we go, the deeper the tests get as well. So.
Oh, do you know what? That is so true. And
so you get asked to really embody what you're supposedly realizing, or what you're supposedly coming into contact with, the teachings of the key to being at peace. It's like
and I also feel like that they get really subtle. Like we almost can't even see what's happening.
Yeah.
Like really hard to even. Love that. I wanted to ask as well, just flash back a bit when we were talking about every path is right. Like through your journey, how have you like come across different things and then let go of them, and then like also not holding on to this idea that this is a bad thing? Right.
That's been an interesting. That's a good question. It's been an interesting process of tuning into what's really aligned with the feeling of that inner peace and that centralized flow that's in the center of the body, but it's in the center that's aligned to everything between the earth and the stars, and being able to kind of connect with the essence and not and it's like when you cut what would be the kind of fruit, like a jackfruit, or you can't eat the skin of a jackfruit. I'm trying to think of another thing that maybe what an English vegetable or fruit which has an unedible skin.
I guess kiwi, but some people eat this.
Some people do eat it, yeah, but I know even I do occasionally, but it's furry and stuff. So you to be able to discard the parts that are not
orange, I guess.
Yeah, orange is very hard to eat. An orange skin, you might have a little tiny zest of it, right? But you want to discard the skin of the orange. Good one, thanks. and then enjoy the sweet and slightly sour, tangy fruit that's nourishing and gives you vitamin C, and so because there's the essence of the teaching, which is pure peace and patience and love and gratitude and service and generosity, and that's the essence of all teachings, no matter where they're from. And then there's the cultural applications, depending on which location in the world and what the habits of the people, depending on their environment, and then how that gets mixed.
That's so important.
Yeah. So we were talking about bhakti yoga earlier. So from what I understand and what I've read and heard and feel, all paths are paths of bhakti yoga. All religions, or all alternative paths, they're all paths of bhakti yoga. So you want to attain union with that form of your devotion, be that the form, as we said before, be it, and the name and the idea or the embodiment or the non-embodiment of that divinity is, be it Krishna, be it Shiva, be it Shakti, be it Devi, be it Lakshmi, be it Yamanja, be it Olorum, be it Pachamama, be it Jesus, be it Allah, be it Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be it whoever is these names, these ideas of be they human embodiments or be they divine embodiments, or as I said, formless and beyond indescribable, like what they were called the Parabrahman, or what Muslims will call Allah. It's you call the name of that divine being, you imagine that divine being helping you, protecting you, you give gratitude to that divine essence, and you feel supported by that, and it creates on a physiological level, it creates a good feeling. It's like if you smile and you say thank you, then so the belief part is, there's one great master called Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who is a master from about 100 years or more back in India, and he said that belief, the divine experience, the religious experience, only happens once you've had the direct, complete, absolute experience, and before that it's just
theory.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll have a little taste of an experience, and then you'll want to really deepen in that experience. So but they're the same tools that are used no matter what the location, be it mountains or jungle or desert or field, all over the world. We'll have devotion to an aspect of an idea of divinity, and in these indigenous and ancient traditions, be they from in these lands, the Celtic gods and goddesses, or Amazonian or African or Indian or wherever it is, they'll see divinity in everything, in man, in woman, in mother, in father, in child, in grandmother and grandfather, in water, in fire, in air, in space, in plant, in star, in sun, in moon, and see that everything is a fractal, everything is a pattern. So what happens is, then also there are safety mechanisms as well, right? So people feel safe in their community, amongst their tribe. If there's people from another place, back in ancient days, before there was awareness of all like right now we are aware of, like they call it the global village, right? So we have awareness of all the people all over the world, and we can have a video call with someone on the opposite side of the planet. And I have those mantra chanting sessions on Thursdays. There's a girl who joins in from Australia, there's a couple who join in from Mexico, someone in Switzerland, someone in Manchester, and every week we share that same moment. So there's beautiful things about that as well. But so in terms of the fear of other paths, or saying this is the only way, there is there's reasons for that as well. And even in terms of bhakti yoga, it's like, if you see that Divine Mother is your form, is your ultimate form, then you see all forms are just actually aspects of her. And so that's fine, but you respect all those forms and you love all of them equally. And often, but in these kind of patriarchal religions, it's often the case that it's like, this is the main form, everything else is lower. So if you're like not saying this specific name, be it Jesus or Allah or Krishna, then you're getting it wrong. And that's also understandable, because if you have a relationship with that aspect of divinity, you want to only be completely focused on that. You don't really want to focus much on other things. And hopefully if we mature deeply into that, then we can also see our beloved aspect of divinity in other aspects, and see that all those other aspects are also just part of that. And depending, like for me in my own journey, I've been around the Sanatan Dharma, the Indian tradition, what's known as Hinduism, and different shoots of that, different streams of that, and it's been deeply nourishing. And then also African Brazilian traditions from the Amazon, shamanic traditions, and Sufi tradition as well, through the Islamic path as well. And for a certain point I was kind of doing all these three at the same time, and not just dabbling, but being part of communities, but taking part in the ceremonies, practicing daily prayers, all these three communities. So Sufi, Islamic prayers, Al-Fatiha and Zikr, and remembering the divine name of Allah, and this African Brazilian tradition and the Shamanic prayers, which also had aspects of Catholicism mixed in. So it was like a mestizo religion, Brazilian religion, and the Shamanic songs and prayers and those days, which would be aligned to the days of the saints, and then the Hindu festivals for the Divine Mother, Navaratri, and Krishna Jayanti and Shivaratri, and these practices, and practicing that mantra daily. That was always the first practice for me, and it ended up being the last one. But all these other things, I feel so deeply grateful as well, because I felt like I can then relate to different humans and different ways, different lenses of experiencing divinity. Also through the music and through the culture and through the language and through these beautiful different styles that have their own beautiful empowering energy. So I also feel like those are three hearts of the world, and they all look a bit heart shaped. So like India kind of looks like a heart shape, Africa looks like a heart, and South America looks like a heart. And I feel like they're three heartbeats and it's been explained to me that it's all was one Pangaya, isn't it? It was all one land. Before the continental drift drifted us apart in different directions. During that time, I remember all these three traditions and paths, and in the teaching they say you need to just choose one. It's like you can't go down a million rivers at once unless you cut your body in many pieces. If you want to get to the ocean, all rivers lead to the ocean, but they take different ways, and you can't be in two boats at the same time. And for me, I heard that, and somewhere I was in conflict, but I also felt, I'm feeling really happy and blessed to celebrate the one in all these different ways, and I don't need to go and I don't need to go and like say that their way is not the right way, or that and even if people are all saying to me, you shouldn't really be mixing, I'm like, I accepted what they're saying, but I was following my way until I found my teacher who was like, okay, now it's time to you to finish these other ways.
Wow.
And then I was able to go much deeper, but at the same time I still honor the ways that, and in my music and culturally, I still feel deeply connected to the shamanic tradition, the African tradition, the Amazonia, and the Sufi to a certain extent as well, which feels like another strain of the. It's all ultimately the same, but it's also different. There's a thing, same but different, right? So, and I was being told to you need to just choose one. And some people would give their judgments and say like, you're just getting mixed up. And I guess I was overdoing it to a certain extent, but it was only when it was fully transmitted to me in a real like unquestionable like transmission of such pure clarity from my teacher, and her grace, her love, her clarity, her strength. It was just, and then it was okay. There wasn't a question about it, and I'm so grateful for that. But I feel that also happens when it's ripe. It won't. So I guess many people that I know are in this sort of similar boat of having a few different paths that they're walking with and mixing with as well. And it can get. It depends how deep you go in the path. If you're just kind of dabbling in a way. It can be okay. Dabbling is okay. Antarma said dabbling is okay. I don't know if that's true, but it depends how deeply you're practicing stuff. Because to really deeply practice something, you'll be wanting to remember that in every moment, and spend periods of time and years and where you're completely focusing on that aspect, and depending on the path. So some paths have many layers of practice and like layers upon layers. Okay, so you finish that side, and then that side, and that side, and that side, and then it just continues and continues. So if you're in something like that, then you won't be able to continue other daily practices because some things can clash. But for example, if you're just gathering and singing, you know,
Yeah.
there's no harm in that.
That's so true.
if it's honoring the divine, like so, like for example, in some of the songs that on the album, they're honoring the African and Brazilian traditions as well. There's a song from Yamaja or Yamaya. She's the goddess of the ocean in the African Yoruba tradition, and there's a beautiful song from Umbanda that I was so beautiful, like felt so inspired by, that I made my own English translation of it, and I share it as a dance. And I saw a post online of a lady who works with the Orishas in a deep way, and she's initiated priestess of Oshun in these traditions. And I saw that she'd put up a post saying, you know, that someone was doing readings with cards of the Orishas, and for her, who was an initiated priestess, she found that as a real disrespect to the tradition, because that's not how these divinities work. There's a whole deep process of initiation and tradition and lineage and offerings and training and to be able to give divinations or give oracles of that practice. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm checking in with people of this lineage if me sharing this song is okay, because I'm not initiated in that tradition formally, through energy connection somehow, but through being in some of those environments over the years, but I've not done that training in that lineage. So I messaged her and I asked her, is it okay for me to be sharing this song that's my own version of this aspect of the Divine Mother? I feel I've been initiated and connected to the Indian Antarma lineage of Divine Mother worship, and that's who I connect to and give offerings to and give gratitude to. But is it okay from your perspective for me to be sharing this song? And she said, songs and celebration, they're great, go for it, please do it. It's just when someone's wanting to start giving consultations and claim to be a priest or priestess of this way, when there's a whole cultural depth to it. And so I always want to give gratitude to the cultures and the embodiments and the people who are still continuing these ancient lineages. So I feel so grateful to have good friends who are in that pure alignment of energy from these ancient traditions, and also who are holding the bloodlines from those places, like for example Malik Koyate, who plays kora and djembe and comes from we collaborate, and he plays in my band. And just recently, before lockdown, we were playing together, and I was also able to be a supportive musician, to hear his beautiful kora, incredible African harp, and he's from lineage of many griots who make koras, who make djembes from so many generations from the Mandinga tribe. So I feel so blessed to be working together with people like that, who are embodiments of that tradition that I've always been so deeply inspired by. And Kumar Raghunathan, he's an incredible Indian violinist, and he plays classical Carnatic and Hindustani, and he's put some of those flavors on the album as well. And Hugo Trequartly, we didn't manage to get him on the album as well, but he's from Mexico indigenous lineage, and he sings such beautiful songs. And Shani Hu from the Yawanawa tribe from the Amazon as well, we've worked together as well. And so these beautiful those people, they've been doing their practices for thousands of years, from the Huni Queen and the Yawanawa tribe, and living in the forest, and embodiments of these beautiful ways of living, of connecting. And for us who live in these concrete and glass and metal worlds, it's so inspiring and so deep to feel that way of living in a beautiful way, in a good way. One of the things that Ninawa from the Huni Queen tribe said when he came to UK is that there are traditions here in this land, and hopefully you'll be able to remember them now that we're sharing this beautiful energy that I've brought from my land, from my Amazon culture that has been for thousands of years. Hopefully we'll be able to also awaken the sleeping giants and the sleeping spirits that are here, that are alive everywhere in nature, because nature
I love that.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well because it's like music is what holds that all together.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, without a doubt.
And it's like you can talk about the religions and but it's like you can sing it in the circle. It's okay.
And even beyond religion as well, even beyond all of these denominations, it's like even the word spirituality and religion, they all become just misunderstood, and so many people have like and end up rejecting it, okay, because mum and dad forced it down our throats, and so and that person said he was doing something good, but he's not doing actually something good, so I don't want anything to do with that. But actually we all want to connect to that pure essence that's being described through it, but it's it's about what we do rather than what we say. No. Yeah. So that's why blah blah blah, talking blah. Isn't it? No, like I might say all these good things, but I hope that I'll be able to do good things more likely, and also not take them personally, and just keep quiet about it. Something so beautiful about just giving and not wanting to have any credit for it.
Yeah,
just
true.
Just to give for the sake of giving, like an apple tree just gives apples without doesn't ask for anything back. Just gets it from the sun and from the earth and the rain, and creates goodness.
Yeah. And the sun, it's like constantly just giving.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us, my friend was telling recently that actually all of the concepts of divinity is from the sun. It's that it's that illuminating light that warms us up, that provides all life, and so. Yeah.
I just love how it just melts all together with music.
Yeah, and the sound of the heartbeat, the drum as well, right? It's the first sound that we hear before we're born.
Yeah.
In our mother's belly, we hear the
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And according to science, then all the universe is vibrating sound particles. So both the modern scientists and the ancient rishis, the ancient seers, scientists of divinity from the Vedas and the Tantras and the Puranas, they were agreeing in many of these senses. Although the modern day scientists, we have now discovered that, but it's been there from a long time. All of these ancient scientists, they were aware, they were observing in the laboratories of consciousness what's happening, and the power of sound.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. I'm just gonna ask two more.
We'll keep here through. We can keep talking forever, innit? And we're not really saying anything. Words cannot describe the indescribable. Yeah. Have the infinite love that lives inside us all.
I'm gonna put your website links in the notes as well, so people can find you.
Thank you. Cheers for that, love.
But is there anything you'd like to share for someone who's like just embarking on this journey, I guess, of like, connecting back with the Divine Mother, maybe? I feel like sometimes it can get really confusing and like maybe even lonely.
Why lonely?
Just sometimes like something's happened to you and then it's not really reflecting in your reality, and then you can just be like,
right.
Yeah.
So your question was, what is
Would you like to share anything for anyone like who's just embarking on this path? Coming out of the matrix.
Of getting to know yourself, sort of thing, basically.
And like connecting with that divinity.
I guess, it's a priority. It comes back to that thing. If we know that, if we want to prioritize what feels good, and not just what temporarily feels good, but what eternally feels good. Not only good for us, but what's good for everything and everyone. Our thoughts and our feelings to go toward that, even if it gets lost and gets confused, it can always have a reference point to come back to. So one of the things that I always taught that changed a lot for me is that to wake up in the morning, first thing in the morning before you get out of bed, before you go and go toilet, and especially before you go and allow the phone world to get into your mind, just sit up and give thanks. And if you have a mantra practice, then do a little bit of it then, or even do your complete practice first thing in the morning. Program your day and choose or be it affirmations, be it just giving gratitude, be it focusing or breathing or just sitting and chanting Om. Make that the first thing in the morning, and then in the evening, last thing at night as well, because those are the window points of so if that's a regular thing, then even if it's just for 5 minutes, you say, I don't have time, I'm in a rush, I've got to do it. So even if it's 1 minute, and it becomes more of a habit, and so repeating what you want to connect with, be that even just simply Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti.
Practice.
Yeah, continuous practice through the repetition, then we create the patterns that we want to, or through repetitions of what we don't want to. So it's always up to us. The choice is inside us. It's not in anyone. No one, like no teacher, no guru, no any person, or can give us that. It's up to us. Each person has that divinity within them, and it's our choice to want to connect to it, to that inner freedom, to that inner joyfulness, and
prioritize.
Yeah. And also don't take yourself too seriously as well. Have fun, laugh, enjoy life, be happy, help others, whoever needs help if you can, without taking it personally and without getting a big head out of it as well. Spend time in nature as well. Try not to watch the screen too much, minimize screen time as much as possible. Obviously if we need to do stuff, and that's our job and our profession, do it, and try not to get too sucked into it, because you can really, I experience it myself as well. I'm just looking at this thing and I'm not living life. So just smiling, breathing, singing, dancing, sitting, focusing, and listen to that voice inside, listen to that stillness, listen to the heartbeat, and just giving thanks as much as possible. And not worrying too much about all the specifics or getting confused about things. There's a mantra. It says, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matra Rupena Samsita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha. To the divine goddess present in all existence in the form of Mother, I bow to her, I bow to her, I bow to her again and again. And then that's every line of it is almost the same, but then there's a change in one word, one or two words. So be it in the form of energy, Shakti Rupena Samsita, in the form of Lakshmi, in the form of energy, in the form of wealth, in the form of beauty, in the form of sleep, in the form of confusion, even in the form of confusion. So I'm quoting Swami Satyananda Saraswati again from Srima's Devi Mandir. He says, why do we bow to the divine in the form of confusion? Because if we bow to the divine in the form of confusion, then we're no longer confused. We recognize that even the confusion is also just the Divine Mother in disguise.
Love that.
Yeah. So those are really beautiful, beautiful prayers to connect with. That's called the Devi Suktam, or the Tantroktam Devi Suktam from the Chandipat. So Chandipat is such a beautiful, powerful book. And it's the story of Durga and Kali slaying the demons. And the demons are our own thoughts, our own confusions, our own desires, our own pride, or the one who says, I'm too good, or I'm not good enough. Yeah. And the Divine Mother, Kali, Durga, Chandi, she slays apart those thoughts. So by chanting the Chandi, by imbibing these mantras, that we feel that victory of that inner divinity within us in a physiological way as well. As the feeling, the bhava, the mood comes, and also through reading that, then it helps us to surrender our ego, surrender our too much and too little, our I'm the best or I'm not, or I'm the worst, and into the light of harmony and the light of wisdom and yoga. So Swamiji says as well that the Bhagavad Gita is the highest principle of being detached, and it's very hard actually to practice it So Chandi is the way to be able to surrender the ego, so that then we can be detached. So he says that the Chandi is the way to get to the Gita, like that. And whether it's Devi or Krishna, we don't see difference in that. It's just that one divine who takes different forms. Lots of people asking that question. I've seen it quite a lot in some of the chat forums and Srima.org that they're like, but they all say that Krishna is the supreme, so why are we worshipping Divine Mother? And he'll say, some say that that's only that one, but we say that all is the Divine One. There's only one. There's only one God. There's only one Goddess. And they're all is that one, and there's only that one, and it doesn't matter which name you call it, but we choose to say Divine Mother. And there's something about that as well. In these times, it seems that the divine feminine consciousness is rising, right? Because the patriarchal masculine concepts of greed and abuse to Mother Nature and abuse to women is coming down now, and it seems that the power of women that has been suppressed for so long is now rising, and it's being honoured and it's being worshipped, and that's an important thing in this time in the planet. Like the feminine soft qualities of nature and the raw primal qualities of that feminine energy is being honoured again, and in that way that will be a society that's has love and compassion as its core values, not greed and conquest, you know.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, I remember earlier about how that relates to masculine and feminine.
Right, okay, yeah. So in that sense, in terms of the world and in terms of these qualities, it feels right to honour the mother, even beyond. But we also have to honour the masculine aspect, so that the masculine aspect in its purity is in service to the mother. And also the mother is naturally of service anyway, but so in her purity she's of service to the father and of service to all the children. You know, so it's and Sheikh Nazim al-Haqqani, who's the Sufi master that I was connected with through the Naqshbandiya tariqah, very beautiful sayings. One of the things such pure love, such pure devotional love of the names of Allah. There's also another totally different style, but a really beautiful way of praising the divine, and I really felt the power of the sound and that love and that passionate devotion to the divine. One of the things he said is that, you know, most of the problems in this world are caused by men. You know, the men are the ones who are you know, bombing and doing these wars and violence and all this aggression and egotism. The women generally have soft, caring, compassionate hearts. They're not the ones doing the wars in this world, so they have divine mercy much more with them. So we want to try and as men as well. Also in the you know, the Shakti tradition, it's saying that you need to work harder to awaken that inner Shakti, whereas women are naturally embodiments of that Shakti. They don't need to necessarily do as much practice. That's not to say that you shouldn't practice, all the ladies out there, but it's said that, you know, having a female body is you're naturally more in tune with that Shakti, that emotional energy, that power, and that's also because of that. That's how come the masculine feared the power of the feminine and wanted to suppress the feminine, because he's got more power in his arms. You know, he's got more physical power in that way generally, but she's got more power in her spirit and in her emotion and her feeling. So it's time for balancing back again, it seems, in this play of the world, which is all a hologram also, but one that we're experiencing.
Within her womb.
The womb of space.
Love it. And so I just want to ask one question to finish, and that is, what does freedom mean to you?
Can I answer with a poem?
Yeah.
It's a good question, isn't it? Someone asked me to recommended that I would write a song on that, so I've got a tune about freedom.
Oh, wow.
Like, what is freedom actually, about the question.
Love it.
But before that, I would like to quote Swamiji again. It seems to be coming. It's, it's one of my biggest influences. So wonderful. He was saying, if you, because there's this idea that you've got the fourfold attainments, dharma, artha, kama, moksha in the Sanatana Dharma. So you want to do your duty to your highest good, to the society, your highest ideal of perfection. Your dharma, artha is just whatever necessities that you need. Karma is fulfilling your desires, and maybe that's also becoming free of desire, whichever way that means. And moksha is being able to is the freedom from desire, is the freedom from the cycle of death and birth. And so you also, if a desire for moksha, a desire for freedom, suggests that you're not free. So when you also surrender even the idea of wanting to become free, then he said you become suddenly paradoxically much more free. It's a big step closer to being free. So it's like that non-yielding and non-clinging back to that Taoist principles,
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like that can apply to so many things.
Yeah. It's always the way, isn't it? It's like when you want something, you're pushing it further away from you sometimes, and by yourself accepting it, and then it comes to you, and then you don't even necessarily even want it as much when it's there. So there's another prayer that comes in the Chandi, and it says, please I'm not asking for moksha even. I'm not asking to be liberated. I'm not asking to be enlightened, and I don't want any powers. I just want to be able to remember you at all times. Please give me that blessing to always remember you. Let me always remember Divine Mother, and never forget her any second. And so that is it's a trick question somehow, because that in itself is to be able to experience the bliss of what it is to say the name of the divine. That in itself is freedom.
Love it.
And not having any desire of anywhere to get to, but
that's huge as well.
And then it's also paradoxical to know that that's the highest goal of human birth. So then Amma will say, that's the purpose of having a human birth, is so that you can do sadhana. There's no other purpose for it. Otherwise we're not any different from animals. Sleeping, eating and procreating. That's what animals do, right?
And what's sadhana?
Sadhana is practice, worshipping the divine. Worship yet again becomes a word. It becomes all spiritually or religiously. Don't like the word, or but embodying, and purifying whatever layers and layers and layers of attachment and impurity and memories and karmas, that are still circling around. I got the freedom to be happy, got the freedom to be sad, I got the freedom to see good, I got the freedom to see bad, I got the freedom to see whatever I want to see, we got the freedom to be whatever we want to be, and to ask, what does it mean to be free? We got the freedom to create our own reality, we got the freedom to drink water and get refreshed. We got the freedom to drink vodka and get in a mess. Are we free, or are we enslaved by our desire of wanting to be bigger and better and higher? Do we want freedom from illusion, or freedom within the Maya? Consume and be consumed by earth, water, wind and fire. Is freedom when we're working, or freedom when we retire? Did we use our freedom wisely or waste it? Does it expire? Is our freedom limited by physical body, or is our freedom limited by our mentality? And do we really have a will that is free, or was it all written in the book of destiny? Are we free to buy food without paying taxes for wars? Are we free to share, what's mine is mine, yours is yours? Can we be free from suffering? How can we know? We can dwell on our suffering and stop life's flow, or we can utilize our suffering to make us grow. Give thanks for pain and pleasure. Let us know that we need the dark night to see the starlight glow, glow, glow. And it's freedom in working for power, money and pride, or it's freedom in nature and pure love that's inside. It's freedom in working for power, money and pride, or it's freedom in nature and pure love that's inside. I wanna know, I wanna know, I wanna know. I wanna know, I wanna know, I wanna know.
Wow.
Will we find freedom through the beat of the drum, or the light of the moon, stars and heat of the sun? Will we find freedom praying thy will be done? Will we find freedom through sitting and chanting Om? Are we free to judge our way as right or others and others as wrong? Are we free to go deeper, see that all is one? Will we find freedom through singing a song? And are we free from the past once the moment has gone? Can we be free in our actions? What about reactions? Are we free to hurt people just for selfish satisfaction? And when what we're giving out comes back home, make no mistakes, be the first to throw that stone. I wanna know, I wanna know, I wanna know. I wanna know, I wanna know, I wanna know. Is freedom what we're receiving? Is freedom the love we're giving? Is freedom the air we're breathing? Or freedom the way we're living? Is freedom here on the streets? Or is freedom locked up in prison? Is freedom self-sustainable, working to make a living? Anyone who's spending money is getting blood on their mittens. Is freedom what we believe in when chained to a television? Is freedom here in this world, or is freedom only within? And is freedom here in this world, or is freedom only within? And if I find freedom inside, can freedom be the life that I live in?
Love that.
And if I find freedom inside, can freedom be the life that I live in? Yeah, you'd have to forgive me, the flow is not exactly the thing, but yeah, it was just a little kind of a contemplation on that question of what is freedom.
Yeah, big contemplation. Love that. That was just there.
Yeah.
For that question.
for that. I guess it's the biggest question, isn't it? And then we'll come back to the point of being free and to experience everything without being bound to it, being unbound, being timeless, being deathless, knowing that presence, that energy that is in everything and everyone. In the body is not only in the body, is that one infinite aspect of existence, and that can't be described, that can't be talked about in this video or any video, but somehow is that which everything comes from, that everything is powered by, that everything returns back to. And so in a way, we're bound by our limited experience and our limited ability to change things. Yet somehow these tools of music and these tools of practice, also of focusing, like when I was reading something from Guruji Amritanandanatha of Devi Puram, he was saying just today as I was on my way here, my teacher Umama, she posted and it was saying, if you serve and you love everyone and you come together in a loving way, and then you can achieve lots of beautiful things. You dissolve your limited selfish ideas and you come together for a common goal, for a common good. Then beautiful, amazing things can happen when people help each other, support each other, similar to what Mati was saying together, like supporting each other's highest ideals and highest goals.
Yeah.
And what's, what desires are for the highest good of all beings, they will come through. And what desires are just limited, selfish desires, they won't need to come. They won't. You realize that they're not for you anyway. That's not for the highest alignment and path. So, like that.
Love it. Thanks for sharing that little musical note at the end.
Oh, bless. Yeah. I need to revise the lyrics. It's been a while still for that tune, but yeah. Thank you so much for this space to share and to talk and Thank you everybody if you've actually made it this far to listen to all of this. And even if you just had a little bit, if anything is useful, it's all thanks to the divine, or thanks to Divine Mother, or thanks to my teachers. Anything not so good, or thanks to my limited ego and my limited filter of being able to share anything of this good. So I'm so grateful. Namaskaram, namaste.
Thank you so much. Beautiful sharings.
So, shall we finish with a little universal peace mantra?
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that.
So, we'll chant mantra Om. And as we chant Om, maybe I might actually knit your guitar if I can.
Go on then. I might just have a level down. Or I might not be in tune.
So we'll just sit with our back straight, body relaxed, eyes closed, attention within, and take a deep breath in and breathe out, releasing all tension and blockages on the out breath, breathing in pure expansive energies on the inhale. Smiling deep inside. One more time. And we'll chant Om. As we chant Om, imagining that any worries, fears, doubts, frustrations, agitations, any physical, mental or emotional pain or trauma can all get totally dissolved into Om. And we can visualize and imagine divine light and freshness and vitality rising from the base of the spine, traveling up to the crown of the head, illuminating every single cell of the body, simultaneously wishing total peace for all of nature, for all of life, purification for the waters, rivers, lakes, streams, oceans, for all of our emotions, for all of the mountains and deserts and forests of the earth, for all animals of land, sky and sea, for all plants and herbs and medicines and vegetation, and for all human beings, for everyone we know, for everyone we don't know, calling in total peace, easing of all suffering, ending of all conflicts, dissolving of all misunderstandings, dissolving of all fear and blockages and hatred and corruption, calling in total peace, unimaginable peace, unfathomable peace for ourselves and for all beings as we chant Om from deep within. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy and at peace. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy and at peace. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy and at peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokah Samastah सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Yes.
I don't even want to say anything. Oh my god, so amazing.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Thank you.